Good morning. It's a beautiful Sunday today. Not just the weather, but to be able to walk, breathe, speak, see, hear. It's a blessing. Today we are working on a center console, 2 Sundown Audio Vex 10s, 2 PRV tweeters. I'm gonna show you how I get it done, step by step, and hopefully this helps someone out. Hopefully it encourages you to take a step in building your own center console. IS350. Half seat center console going right back here. He has a car seat and drops this seat down for more bass, so we're gonna keep it in between these seat belts. Use popsicle sticks to get the shape of the seat. This helps me and it should help you. You simply use CA glue or hot glue, but be cautious of the seat. You do not want to damage your leather. Shape is confirmed. I'm going about 2.5 to 3 inches on each end, and if I need to build up more, which I'm going to need to do, I'm just going to use some 3/4 inch legs. Once you figure out your shape, transfer it onto cardboard, test fit it, make sure it looks the way you want it to look. You don't want crazy gaps in between the console and the seat, so this is as much as I let pass, because the speakers I'm using are very heavy, so it's going to compress this towards the seat and close up the small gaps. But this is my shape that I'm gonna be working with right here. Speaker choice, like I mentioned, is the Sundown Audio Vex 10 with a PRV tweeter. So got my shape done, got my rings. We're doing rings for the Vex 10s. Gonna clear this off, transfer the shape onto 3/4 inch plywood and cut it. One day I will own a CNC to cut shapes with ease, but today we are using the jigsaw. And eyes, they are not cheap. They're not cheap to buy. They're not cheap to replace. So wear protection. These glasses cost like $10 and they serve a purpose. Even if you're cutting something for 5 seconds, anything can happen. Take a second, put your protection on, and start cutting. Once you transfer the shape onto 3/4 inch wood and you cut it out, make sure this is the exact template that you need. Then we are going to copy this onto another piece of 3/4 inch wood. Tape is cheap. Your fingers are not cheap. Use as much tape as you need to ensure both pieces are locked together properly, because these router machines spin at a high RPM and vibration is the effect of that. So make sure they're locked in properly. This is the tape I use, yellow woodworking tape. It works amazing. I'm gonna use my palm router just to do a pass, flush trim both of these together, and then we move on. Once this is done, both pieces are going to be the exact same shape. Right now the bottom piece is about 1/8 bigger. That's why we flush trim right now. I have to move to my table because the handheld router is just not doing it for this. It's worked in the past, but I changed a setting on the router and there was a screw that I need. I can't find the screw to adjust what I need to adjust, so I had to move to this. But the table, you know, once you learn how to use it, it's gonna be your best friend. Both base pieces done. Now, this step is very important. If you don't do this step the way I am doing it, you might as well stop. It's not gonna work out. At this point, right, we have left and right cut out. So we need 2 bracing points. One for the bottom, one for the top. These right here are the same exact dimensions. They need to be the same, or else the bottom is gonna look different than the top. Everything needs to look uniform. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Your measurements are gonna be different than mine, unless it's the same car. But these pieces will be going directly in the middle, holding each side together. So we need one for the top and one piece for the bottom. They need to be exactly the same like I mentioned. Go ahead, try to use 2 different pieces of wood, see what happens. I'm gonna save you the time and the trouble now. I mean, it's sort of common sense, but yeah, use the same size wood. Put these on with hot glue for right now, just to get them attached. Line everything up, basically following this seam, because like I mentioned before, he wants this seat to drop down. Oh, I made this not too long ago. It's 2 8-inch Neo Pro Sundown audio with PRV tweeters in a rear deck. But yeah, he wants this to drop down to access this amp. I said access, I mean access that amp. So yeah, I'm keeping it running along this seam right here. Decided to put a brace top in towards the middle, not down there yet, because I will do that afterwards. So there is a bit of a gap right there, but I will fill that as I go. The seat shape over here is a bit different because of how it's sitting. So if I move it more this way, it fills the gap, but then it's off, so it needs to be even. Make sure it's even, and then you could work with what you have. But the bottom has to be perfect because you don't want to fill too many spots. Now it's time for rings. The Vex 10 speaker is huge, so I had to redo the design because 2 speakers, 1 speaker would be facing the ceiling, which doesn't make sense. So I decided to do this. One's gonna face left, one's gonna face right. Tweeters are gonna be up front. I'm gonna cut this out now. Do the same process for the base. Cut 1 piece, copy it, and then copy the covers for this. But yeah, this is what we have right now. It's gonna be a little tricky to fleece, but we'll figure it out. Very simple, 2 tweeters. This is 3/4 inch, transferring it over to 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is gonna act as the trim. This is the base. This is gonna be going right over here, like so. Fingers are not cheap. Tape is cheap. Use as much as you can. I'm always going to say that. Okay, these are ready to go. Just need to pass it through. Here's pretty much the final form. This is the front facing the 2 front seats. 1 10 is going here. The other 10 is going over here. 2 tweeters. When it's fleeced, it's gonna cover the bottom, cover the top. These are support rings for the shape. Middle support brace. Brace, brace, brace. So this is ready for fleece, which I will be doing tomorrow, and then fiberglass resin. I'm pretty sure the tips that I shared in this video will help you create your own console, but in terms of like the speaker ring placement, that's all up to you. But you have to consider how everything is placed, because once you wrap the fleece is going to be the mold. So if you don't want something to stand out, like for example, these corners were pointed, but I rounded them for a better looking fleecing job and an upholstery job. If it's pointy, sometimes the upholstery doesn't go all the way down, but we do rounded edges to avoid that now. Hope this video helps someone out, and stay tuned for part 2 when we fleece.